Hi, and welcome to AI in C#, where we'll be covering the Microsoft Agent Framework. In this video, we are going to follow up on the first video about tool calling, the basic stuff, with some advanced things. If you haven't seen the basic video, I would recommend you see that before you turn into this one. But let's jump into code. So I've now switched to tool calling advanced here. And I have made a few more tools in terms of a file system tool. So a lot of different things on how we can do stuff in a root folder here, function calling example, where we can get a root folder, we can create folders, we can create files, we can get content of files, we can move files around, and we can delete some files. I put in some guards in so it won't begin to delete my entire disk drive, but I have never seen it do that. But just in case, I put that in as a safeguard, and so should you, of course, because it is AI. But let me quickly show this tool first, and then we will go into the code. So if we run this and bring up the folder that we are talking about and our prompt, then we could, for example, ask how many files are there? And you see some gray things about calling stuff. This is called middleware, so we can see what is actually going on. So in this case, it called the tool get root folder, and it called the get files, and it asked for this folder part to look at files. And it saw that there was no files. So we can use the power of LLM to say, create 10 random files with fruit names and a description of the fruits as content, like this. And now you can see it calls a bunch of tool calls. It made a create file with this one, with this content, and it made 10 files here, which is good. So let's try and do something more here. Let's say move all files into folders based on the fruit color. It will then begin to make various folders and use the move file method and move them into to the systems here. So we could, for example, then say remove all yellow fruits. It now deleted the 2 yellow fruits, and it deleted the folder. And we can then finally ask how many files are there, and it should come back with 8 remaining, yeah, because we deleted 2 yellow fruits. So this is the power of function calling, and we're both reading data and doing actions in this scenario, but it could have been sales orders, it could have been CRM stuff instead of just simple stupid fruit and files and folders here. But let's see how this works. And it's just as we did in here before with the basic stuff. But because I have so many tools in here, I didn't want to go in just like in the basic. Let's quickly look. I didn't want to make these lines myself. So it's fairly simple. because if we look here, there are instance methods in this case, so that would also have been a problem. The other one was static members, but that's nothing a simple reflection can't do. So we just take a type of this file system tools. We get the methods that are public and instance, so don't expose the private methods. And then we just turn them each into a tool with the instance here. So this is essentially the target of our system. So we can do it like this, so it's a little easier to look at. Then I also put in an approval required AI function. We haven't seen that, but the other ones were just these tools. This one is an experimental feature from Microsoft Extensions AI. That's the reason why I have this up here. And it is something where we can intercept that a tool is being called and ask for permission from the user to do it, because it could have been something dangerous. In my case, I have my dangerous tools, which is just do something dangerous with a value. And if we run that tool, let's quickly restart so we don't have all that extra stuff in there, and say do something dangerous with 12 for some reason. That apparently hit the content filter of OpenAI. Interesting, because it's the word dangerous could be harmful and stuff. So let's try again. I haven't actually hit that filter before. Let's try with another number that is less dangerous apparently. So now you can see it came back and said the agent would like to invoke the following function. Please reply Y to approve. And then it would be something dangerous. And I could say yes, and then it's allowed to call. While if I do it here and say no, it would have been rejected and is not executed. So the way this works is, again, we got our tools and we just added one more tool, but wrapped it in this approval stuff. And then down here, every time we get our response back, we can get something called user input requests. And if any of these user input requests was a function approval request, we write back to the user that it needs to approve. So we have full control over the approval way of doing things. So this was just some text and the name of the function. And then we add one more chat message back, say that either says we are okay with this. So create a functional request here and create a response that we are okay with it or we are not okay with it. And once we have done that, there will actually be one more message in the chat history saying the user approved or the user did not approve. And as long as we then end up with no more requests, because we essentially sent one more call to the LLM, and we have no more requests left, and then we can actually output the new response that we actually got from the user. So that is how you end up doing this part. The final thing that we saw when we ran over here, let's see, how many files are there? That is this extra thing down here. This is called middleware, and up here when I make my agent, I use the extra options. There's a separate video on the options where we add some middleware, and in this case we are adding function calling middleware. In the previous video I showed telemetry, but in this case it's the function calling middleware. And the function calling middleware is just a simple method that takes in some function invocation context, meaning what is about to happen. And what we can do is we can set a breakpoint here and see that happening. So if I say how many files are there, we get in here before the call has actually happened. And we get information about what is about to be called. In this case, we are about to call the get files, and we can get information about, yeah, it was the get files, and the arguments to that was it wanted to get the files from this folder path with this value in this case. So we're just building up a little extra text and using my utilities here to write that out. And then we can call next. So this is the normal middleware thing. And if we stopped calling next, it would actually not do the function call. So we can run in this way. We could do not return here and actually after the fact say it was now called, and here's the output of the function call if we wanted to log that. But it can also be used as a way to say, no, you are not allowed to do this because I saw that you were this user and you're calling this thing in this scenario, or you are trying to create a new person with an age of 200 or whatever kind of thing you need to change or log or manipulate. You can do it here, and then you will be able to have full control using this middleware. So again, when we run, we can get these out. We can use them in a logging system if we don't want to use the normal telemetry at all. So that is actually everything there are to doing more advanced stuff like this. So methods can easily be found using normal reflection. We have the special approval features, and we can get more information in here. And I would very much recommend you put this in, at least doing debugging, because then you get a much better understanding on why did it actually do this. Oh, it was because it called it with this wrong input value or something like that. So highly recommended to at least put in the middleware and all depending on what you need for the rest of it. So with that, that was everything for the advanced part. See you in the next one.